Hello and welcome to this lab in Power Automate Basics. This is all about AI Builder, and we're going to build a form processing custom model in this lab. This is a really exciting lab. I think this is where the rubber's hitting the road in terms of new technology. So looking forward to taking you through this content. Some prerequisites. This is lab number 7. So do make sure that you have access to the documents that were in the zip file as part of the setup. This is lab number 7 that we're going to go through. And we're going to need these lab data packages as well for training our model later on. Do follow along with this one. You can do it yourself, but I'm going to explain quite a lot about custom AI models and the certain different types that are available. Just give you a quick summary. So it'd be good if you want to get that summary, then follow along rather than DIY. But of course, you can do it yourself if you like. If you get stuck, there's a support bubble in the bottom right-hand corner. Feel free to search our knowledge base or reach out to us, log a ticket if you need some help. Okay, let's go look at AI Builder. So what we're going to do in this lab is we're going to go to AI Builder, and we're going to go to Build, the Build tab. And the first thing you want to do, so make sure you're in your tenant, the tenant that you created as part of this course in one of the earlier sections. And the first thing you want to do is you want to go up here and you want to click on Start Free Trial, and that bar should turn green. Now at the time of recording, this is November 2021. This user interface was meant to change in October. There is a change coming soon. Your AI Builder might not look the same as this AI Builder, but hopefully the context and the contents are the same. And as soon as this changes, we will be swapping out as soon as we can. But if it's not yet, then just bear with us. But anyway, this is how it looks for now. Very quick overview of some of these different models. So there's two types of models. There are pre-built models and there are custom models. These ones here are the pre-built ones under this get straight to productivity. So what you can do, for example, is read business cards. You can measure sentiment in some text. You can receipt processing, so take information out of receipts. Category classification. So you can go in here and it says this is about pricing. Choose one of these. Really enjoyed presentation. This is a compliment. So you can see you've got some pre-built categories that you can use. So give it some text and it will give you some categories that relate to it. You can use this as a model to build upon, which we'll talk about in a second. So you've got all these different types. You've got identity document reader, so this can read passports and extract data from that. Key phrase extraction, so this is summarizing long text. Yeah, so you've got these things, you can go get straight to productivity. Highly recommend if you want to have a look at those, have a look, try it out, and it's really useful stuff. The documentation is excellent, so you can go in here and you can do things like this and copy and paste your own text in here to get a good understanding of what that model actually does. So highly recommend having a click around. So pause and have a click around some of these pre-built models. Once you've checked out the pre-built models, let's have a look at some of the custom models. So these models are ones that you can build on, well, these ones that you can create. So category classification, this categorizes text. So you can create your own classifications. So some examples here. So you give it some tags and it will tag that data. So you train it, what are examples of good? What are examples of quick? What are examples of powerful? You give it those examples and then it can return those tags back to you. You can use, there's already a pre-built classification model, and what you can do is you can actually build on top of that. So you can click on that to customize the model, and it will build on top of the existing classification model. That's what this is doing. Entity extraction will extract entities from text. So all the organizations, temperatures, phone numbers, dates, URLs. You can train it with your own entities. We work a lot with law firms, so that might be client numbers, matter numbers. So that's entities. Form processing we're going to do as part of the lab. Object detection, this is to count things in images. So you can count things in images. The example they're using here is particular types of tea from images. The other thing that it's got here is it tells you what you actually need. So at least 15 images of each object. So I trained a cat detector as part of a playground to look for cats in images. So I need more than 15 images of cats. Prediction, so this is where you can give it some data and some outcomes, and then you can give it the same pieces of data and it will predict the outcomes based on the data that you give it. This needs at least 50 rows of data of prior outcomes, and it needs to be stored inside Dataverse as well. More about Dataverse in Power Apps course, but for now just know it needs to be in Dataverse for the prediction model. So there are the different types of models that you can create. Again, if you want to pause and have a play around, do so. The next part of the lab, we're going to build a form processing model to process invoices. Now, just a quick note here. I would not create this from scratch because there is already a pre-built invoice processing model. In fact, what I would likely do is I would use this model and I would go in here, maybe it's down here somewhere. Oh, you used to be able to customize this. Maybe by the time you are doing this, there will be a button to customize the existing invoice processing model to build on top of it. But I would use the official invoice processing rather than anything else. I wouldn't build a form processing model for processing invoices because there's one already that does it. But for our learning purposes, we're going to use form processing. Some other examples of where form processing might be useful. It could be lab results. If the same type of document comes in with the same data on it all the time, lab results is a good example. Labels on deliveries, extracting data from that. All of that sort of stuff, right? But for our training purposes, we're going to use invoicing. So name this Contoso invoicing model. And it says here what you're going to need is 5 documents with the same layout. So we do have those. So let's click on create. And now what it's asking us here is saying, okay, so you're going to create this model. What bits of data are you interested in extracting from this model? So you tell it the data that you want to extract. So in the lab results, that might be blood type, name, patient ID, all of that stuff. So it's the data you want to extract. For the delivery labels, it might be delivery address, delivery name, phone number. You get the idea, but you've got to tell it what bits of data you're interested in from the documents that you're going to give it. So in our example, we're interested in, note here you've got field, you've got a table, and you've got a checkbox type. We're not going to dig into those. I do have a course on AI Builder. We'll get into each of these in more detail in that AI Builder course. But for now, let's go in and do field. So we're going to add bill to. We're going to add contact. We're going to add date. And we're going to add total. And click done. Once you've created those, click next. So we've told it what data we want to extract. Now we need to give it examples of the documents. So we're going to create a collection of documents. Now a collection is a container of documents that are the same type. In the labs example, if we sent our blood tests off to 3 different labs and each of those labs returned the same data but in a different style of PDF, then each of those providers would have their own collection because the document's the same. It's just laid out differently. It's the same data, just in a different format. So collections are collections of documents of the same layout. In our example, we're just going to have the one. And we're going to click on plus, and we're going to click on add documents. I'm going to upload from local storage. Now when we're uploading from local storage, we want to find our Futurability Labs documents in lab data packages, lab 7, training data for AI Builder. Click on that and click on here are 5 invoices we're going to train it with. So select the first one, shift, select that last one and click open, and that will upload those 5 documents. Click on upload and let that do its thing. Once they're uploaded, click on close. And so we've done 2 things here. We've told it what fields we want. We've given it the documents that contain those fields. We now need to put them both together and tell the model where these fields are on the documents that we've uploaded. Read these tips if you like. I'm not going to go through them here, but read through them if you like on your screen. And what we're going to do is called tagging the document. So the build to is here. You'll see build to is here. So if I go build to and then do that, that's build to. I hold down left, drag it over, and that's the contact. The date is up here, date and date. Total, we're going to use the total down here rather than up here. That's because the name of the field, you notice that the name of the field matches the text near where where that data is. A good tip is to name your fields the same as words that are near the data that you're extracting. It increases the confidence of the scores and the resilience of the AI. Click on next. And just tag it again. So tag that as build to, tag that as contact, tag that as date, tag that as total, and next. What it used to do is it used to recognize what you were doing, and it would auto tag them for you, but for some reason about 2 months ago it stopped doing that for these particular documents. So I'm not sure what happened, so we have to tag all of them. So just go through and tag all of the documents here. This here is build to, this here is contact, date and total, and one more. But you see how easy it is and quick it is to train this model. It really is quite easy. And tagged all the documents, click on next. So once you've tagged them all, you then click on next here. So the next step is, so we've given it all the data it needs now, and now the model just needs to train. Train, it just does some algorithm, some updates in the background to train the model. So let's just click on train and let it go and do its thing. This can take a minute. What will happen is this will this will close in a second. In fact, you can go to models here and just watch this. We're waiting for this to say trained. So we'll just wait for that to happen. You can see there the status is training. So we're just waiting for that to finish to be trained. I think it does update without refresh, so we'll just hang fire and see how it goes. I'll just refresh the page. It might not refresh automatically. Go into models. And it should be trained now. Yep, that's trained. So the one final thing you need to do before you go and use the model. So if you want to use model in the flow and you go to flow and it's not there, you've probably missed this step. You go into the model and you publish. Click on publish, and now it's ready to go. This overview page will show you here where this model is used in various Power Automate flows and apps, which is pretty good. So that's the, we're going to use AI Builder now. We're going to go over to Flow and use this model. What we're not going to do is come back to this page anymore during the training, but we do have training on AI Builder on this platform, and we'll go in that we go through all the different models and do examples of those, and we show you what this document automation is all about. This is a pretty cool tool, a solution, a pre-packaged solution that has a Power App and a whole bunch of flows that allow to do things like receiving documents into a mailbox, extracting data using AI, sending it to a human for validation. Once the human's validating it, then going off and doing some other stuff. So it's a very cool package. I highly recommend getting to know this if you've got workflows in your business that do something like this. So let's go to flows and let's use this model and see how we can use it. So if we go into our from the previous lab, go into that flow. So we're using this when your email arrives. We're going to click on this and delete it. We don't need that anymore. And we're going to use our model that we've just created. Now, the way we use that is we look for the AI Builder connector. And the action that we want to use is called predict. Now that will sign in, create the connection, and here you've got model. Now the model we want to use is the one that we just created, which is called Contoso Invoicing Model. Don't confuse that with Invoice Processing Model. We want the Contoso Invoicing Model because that's the one that we created. But here you can see all the different models that are available. This is how you would use them. And we're going to use the Contoso Invoicing Model. Do make sure you select that one, otherwise the rest of the document, or the rest of the fields and things won't make sense. So make sure you use the Contoso Invoicing Model. That's mistake number one that I see quite often. The second mistake is make sure, just double check in when a new email arrives, you have include attachments is set to yes, because what often happens is some people set this to no, and we don't have the attachments to send to AI Builder, and it just gives you this esoteric, crazy error that's hard to troubleshoot. So just make sure you've got those things, Contoso Invoicing Model, and you've got include attachments set to yes. So what this is asking for, this is asking for two. So asterisk means it is a required variable that we need to send in. And what this is saying is the model needs a document type, whether it's an image, a PDF, it needs a document type, and it also needs the contents of the document. Now, here we have all of the data that is come from the when a new email arrives action. This is the dynamic content that we introduced in the last lab. We're going to use that this time. We scroll down here, you'll see you've got some ones that are attachments. So if we go into attachments here, and what we want is the attachments content type. So the attachments content type is what this is looking for, the document type, whether it's an image, that kind of thing. It is that. So we're going to choose that. Now, if you've clicked it already, great. Pause for a second and just watch this. When I click on attachments content type here, watch what happens to this predict action. So I'm going to click on attachments content type, and notice how it changed. It went inside this apply to each control. So this is an example of a control. I mentioned there were three things. You've got a trigger. This is a trigger starts it, actions, and this is a control. And what this control is doing, it's automatically detected. Of course, an email can have more than one attachment. So the Cloudflow engine has noticed that an email can have more than one attachment, and it has wrapped this action inside an apply to each. So it will do everything inside this apply to each for every attachment that's on this email. That's a really good thing for people that are not developers. They might forget doing that. They might forget to do that. Whereas this prompts you, it's part of the user interface that's guiding you in the best practice. So it's pretty cool. And now I want to send the actual content. So we click in here, you've got attachment content. So we click on that, and that's the attachment content. You can send specific pages. We just want to send everything to only one page anyway, so that's fine. What we're going to do to test is we're going to send ourselves an email. So we're going to go to use Outlook, send an email. So send an email here, Office 365 Outlook, send an email. You can of course get to that by selecting the Office connector and then send an email. A few ways of doing that. And we're going to click on that, send an email. Make sure you are using the Office 365 and not office.com. Now send this to your tenant email address, the one that you have set up. And the subject, AI Builder Test. And what we're going to do is we're going to display some of the data that's been extracted from that AI Builder model. Notice here now that we have some more dynamic content that's appeared. We have, this is from the predict action here. We've got all of this stuff that's available to us from the predict action. And you've got, for each of the fields that we created in our model, in our Contoso model, we've got a few options. We have the total value, the detected date, the actual value of that item, the date, the expected date, the suspected data type of that item, and also the display name of the field. So what we're going to do is we're going to use display name and then put a colon and a space and then the value and then enter, build to display name, colon, space, build to value, contact display name, contact value, and then what have we missed out? Date display name, and date value. So what this is going to do, let's just recap before we test it. When a new email arrives with new invoice in the subject, it's going to send those attachments, because it's got included attachments, each attachment off to AI Builder, which is then going to use our Contoso model that we trained on the attachment, extract the data, and then it's going to send us a summary of that data to our test user account. Hit save, go to Outlook, and send yourself that email. Very same email as what you sent prior. Attach browser's computer. If you're still in the Lab 7, it's totally fine to use this new invoice. Make sure you put in new invoice into the subject and hit send. Now what will happen is if we go over here into the summary, we can look at the runs here and we'll see that appear in a second. Now there, so it's triggered, and now I can see it's running. So if I click on this here, when your email arrives, that's fired, and now it's applying to each. Predict, it's sent off the document, and it got this data back, and then as a result of that it sent an email. So let's look at our mailbox here. Now this might happen in your test. You might get delivery failures because you've set up a test tenant, a trial tenant, and you try and send email from it as a spam protection. Microsoft will stop you from doing that. If that happens to you, or when that happens to you, it's very likely to happen. Don't worry about that. Just click in the sent items and you'll see the email that should have been sent. And that's fine, because all we're doing is testing it anyway. So you can see that's the data that was extracted from that image by our custom AI model. If you need support, contact us. Thank you for watching. Hope you are excited as I am about AI Builder and its potential. See you on the next lab.